General Darpong, Dr. Tirakirt, Marcus, everybody here in the room today, good afternoon, and I'm delighted to be here with you. The British Council has been working in Thailand since 1952, so that's 64 years now. And during all those years, we've worked closely with the Ministry of Education, creating lots of opportunities for teachers and students across Thailand. And the English language is a core part of our mission in cultural relations here. But in all those years, I think we've never done something on this scale. This is clearly the largest single project we've been involved in with the Ministry of Education, and it's delighted to be starting this. It'll be our single largest project across the whole of East Asia this year, and I think either the second or the third largest project we're involved in across the world. So it's big and it's important. I've been following quite closely the strategic developments of Thailand 4.0, and my colleagues have been keeping me informed about that. And I've heard many government ministers in Thailand regularly mention that Thailand seeks to move out of the middle income trap, collaborate more internationally, particularly but not exclusively, of course, with the ASEAN community. Now, English is one of the most important skills that current and future generations will need to realize these goals. And this won't happen without the knowledge, the skills, the passion of English teachers across Thailand, and of course their students. And that for me is the context in which all this fits. That's why, as Director of the British Council, I'm so pleased to be part of it. I'm part of, we just had a whole range of projects to improve and develop education in which the Ministry is currently engaged. It's really quite extraordinary range of initiatives. Let me say a little about the regional English training centres and our approach. One of the abiding moments of my British Council career, I think, will be in April when I went down to Pattaya for the closing of boot camp. And I'd heard from my colleagues, and I'd heard from the trainers, and I'd heard indirectly from some of the Thai teachers that it had been good, that people were happy. But General Darpong was there, Dr. Tirakirt was there, Mike Selby was there. Were they going to be happy? So that was my worry as I was going down in the car, and I needn't have worried, because the moment they went into the room, I mean, you saw it on the video before, huge smiles, lots of positivity, lots of engagement with the teachers in the room, and I knew at that moment that it had worked. You can have all sorts of formal assessment methods, and we have in this project, but somehow sometimes those impressionistic things really matter. You could see how much it worked. The regional English training centres are the natural extension of this original boot camp as we move to 8 locations across 4 regions in Thailand. Initially a 1-year program, and we'll be working with 5,100 primary and secondary teachers. I understand, Dr. Tirakirt, you've gone into details already about the locations, is that right? Yeah, yes. So I won't repeat that. Just to say, our objective is to further develop communicative teaching skills, methodology, confidence, and English proficiency for the teachers nationwide. We're bringing in highly qualified trainers with lots of international teaching and training experience, including experience here in Thailand. They've all worked with us on other programs here or in other countries. And we put a lot of value on combining the international experience they bring and the local context, the local knowledge of the context which my team here brings. Alongside them, it's really important, and I'm delighted for the long-term sustainability of the program, to have the Thai master trainers. They'll be working with the trainers in each location during the project. They'll be mentored and supported throughout the program as they deliver their own workshops and go on to deliver more of the program themselves. The training material we're using is from a wide range of British Council global products to create a bespoke training course that caters specifically to the needs of Thai teachers. They're all of whom are at different levels of the CEFR, or should I now say CEFRTH? I think, perhaps. Well, probably, yeah. We'll place particular focus on young learner teaching activities, providing a fun, dynamic training environment while equipping course participants with the tools they need to maximize the learning in their own contexts. By the end of the course, participants will have more understanding of, better capacity to use, and more confidence in best practice communicative English language teaching, and increased confidence and proficiency in their own English in the classroom. If I can just give a personal anecdote, I know the importance of of confidence in your use of the language and your fluency in the language. I originally studied politics and German at university, and many years ago I was teaching English, and this was 3 years after graduation, and I hadn't used German for a few years. I'd learned some Italian and Spanish along the way, but I'd not used my German. And the school where I was working was like, Andrew, you graduated in German. From next week, you'll be teaching, whatever, 6 hours, 10 hours in German. I thought, fine, that's no problem. But then I got into the first lesson and second lesson and realized I'd lost some of my fluency and I'd lost quite a bit of confidence in the language. And I was struggling to teach in the way I wanted to teach. I was struggling at first to teach German in the communicative way that I was teaching English. So, you know, this focus on the confidence and English proficiency is as important as the focus on methodology. We'll measure the program in different ways, and we're developing agreed KPIs with the ministry. And we'll be looking at improvements in the teacher's English, pronunciation, grammar, communicative ability. We'll be looking at improvements in teaching, measuring how planning lessons, delivering lessons, classroom management, approach with students, and other aspects of methodology. And I think there'll be a lot of self-assessment and self-reflection, which is also an important part of that, a part of people's learning. So why is this program so important? And why do we believe in it so much? I remember back in June having a discussion with Dr. Tirakia and with Mike Selby in response to an article in The Economist. If I can just say a little bit about that article now, because I think it's quite relevant. In every country, there's always lots of discussion and very often controversy about how schools are organized, you know, the amount of government or local authority, control or autonomy, discussions about private tuition, about how students' personal and social status influences their education chances, about curriculum, assessment, quality assurance, materials, technology. And of course, these are all very important concerns, valid concerns, and you know, governments across the world struggle and work very hard to improve these. But the one factor, then this was coming from the article, and I think you see this through boot camp and now the regional English training centres. The one factor which really impacts on education and people's life chances is the teacher and the teaching process. Curricula, assessment methods, technology, they can always be more relevant. They can always be better. But I think no child, you know, we all studied at one stage. Many people in the room probably have their own children. No child or students ever going to look back on their education and think, I remember that wonderful exam in physics when I was 15. Or they're not going to think, school was great because we had this wonderful technology in the classroom. But they will long remember some of their teachers. A teacher who inspired them to learn, a teacher who listened to them, a teacher who took an interest in their learning, their ambitions, and a teacher who treated them as someone special and individual. And just a few lines from the Economist article now. I'm going to quote a little bit. Some pre-service courses across the world, which have a lot of theory, have no effect on how well their graduate pupils end up being taught. It goes on to say, what teachers fail to learn in universities and teacher training colleges, they rarely pick up on the job. And finally, across the OECD club of mostly rich countries, 2/5 of teachers say they've never had a chance to learn by sitting in on another teacher's lesson, nor have they been asked to give feedback on their peers. Now that's based on research, and you know, there will be different people will have different opinions on this, but they are quite strong statements, I believe. So just like to finish by saying over the next year, and I hope years, we will focus on the practical. The trainers, the master trainers, will focus on what works. They'll make the best use of feedback, they'll listen to the participants in the course, and they'll contribute to developing, I hope, a consistent style of teaching English across Thailand, which will inspire many generations of learners to come. And this is why the regional English training centres with British Council support can make such a difference in Thailand.